Right, so we should be live. I'm just checking that. Yeah, we have gone live, I believe. And I'm just going to hit the test button as well. So, yeah, there we go. Test works as well, so people can put messages in, I believe. And basically, this particular section is going to be on. So I'm going to get my VS Code open, but I've got it here. It's a little bit small. I'm going to expand the font size, but basically if we go over to this right hand side over here, I haven't got I do a lot of different tests and things just to get things working and so forth, and I wanted to test the logging module, and I don't have a file set up for that. Sometimes I do the tests just in the general file, but I might actually make a logging folder. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go over here and do, I guess I'm going to call it test underscore logging dot py, and hopefully that makes its way up into the folder in the right position next to all of the other things. So I've got a file here. I'll close the file explorer and I will zoom in a bit. I'll hit clear down here as well, so we're starting fresh, and I'll zoom in a bit, so a couple of control pluses just to zoom in. And the reason why I want to do this is because there's some code that I run and it's on a remote server, and if I do a print here, and I sort of do the print hello world, and I run this code, and in fact say I do this in a loop, so for I in range 10, and instead of passing here now, I'm going to print the hello world like this, and when I run this little piece of code like this, okay, do I want a virtual environment? I will do a no. I don't like working with virtual environments, although it's generally recommended to. Just get rid of that for a sec then. But we get this hello world anyway. That comes down the side over here. So let me just remove this from the side. One thing that I might do, I might run it on the side. So if I do a hash percentage, I will use the interactive Python. So instead of running it in the terminal, I wonder if will I get the same thing if I run it now. It'll run on the right hand side, so we'll see the same piece of code, and this looks a bit more like a Jupyter notebook, so I might just go with that for now. Let's just get rid of the terminal. So we see like we get these 10 hello worlds anyway that come in here, and the thing is, like, so I get that in the terminal as my output, but I actually want to be able to see it, so I can see it in the terminal running, but I can't see the code actually running if I was to log into a remote server. And the one way of doing this is to like make a log file or do some logging, and then you can see, whilst you can't see the code, you can see the logs of the code running, and that's a piece that I'm interested in. So if everywhere I can see this hello world, and in particular I would want to do something like hello world and so now I want to know at which like index or how many times I've run the loop. So there's number 5, there's number 6, there's number 7, and so forth. So at least I can do, like, I can see that with print statements, but imagine that I couldn't see the actual terminal itself, but I could see the logs of the terminal. Then a print statement, whilst it's great and I use it all the time, and people do use it for debugging the whole time and so forth, the log statement will hopefully do that. And the other advantage is that possibly I'll be able to save it to a file, and so like see the whole file and the file history and so forth. And so whenever you close a terminal, if you've saved all of your stuff to a file rather than to to the console, rather than printing just to the console, you've now got a permanent record of it as well, if you wanted to do that kind of thing. So without kind of like further ado, and I did start doing this before I was going to do the code, I went into Bard because the Claude AI, I was going to actually do the same in Claude AI, but unfortunately it ran out of help things. I've got 2 messages left because I was asking for a lot of help. So Claude AI I have to throw out to the window, but this was actually the beginning of the process, which was, and here it is saying logging, but my actual questions, and I'll probably zoom in a tiny bit just for the sake of it over there, because you can still like see the questions. I'm trying to run something and I want to see the output of this file, and this file is actually currently running, and it's saying, well, one thing that you can do is you can go to the log file, but I don't have a log file running, so it's a little bit annoying to do that. But one thing that you can do apparently is this, is you can redirect your outputs to to somewhere, basically somewhere that I don't know of, that isn't like in the normal command, so to this std out, and then you can go and view that with your scripts later somewhere. And I'm not a Linux user, I'm more like a Windows user, but everything that runs in the cloud tends to be on Linux, so I'm going to use this method. But in order to use this method, I have to have these log files, so I have to do that. So I'm either going to be printing to a file called log. Now I could just use print statements if I'm doing that, so that's perfectly fine. Or the other option is to use this logging thing that was beginning to be suggested over here. So how do I know if it's logging to a log file? Well, it's not logging to a log file, but you can sort of like say, here we go, you can specify this file name app.log. The thing is in the print statement, in the standard print statement, if you do hover over it, you can actually also write to a file, so you could consider that a log as well. So maybe you don't need logging. So if I was just going to be printing to a file, I might just, well, potentially just use print statements, although logging might be a little bit more convenient. So, and the one reason that we tend not to use that you know, Python users might tend to use a print statement a lot rather than logging, is that the logging module requires an import at the top, logging, whereas print is built into Python, so you can just like put it anywhere that you like. Here you'd need to remember to import the logging every single time. But anyway, I'm just going to continue with this, because here's the original. I began to ask a couple of questions in there. I wonder if there's other questions that I've asked before that. No, okay, fine. So I'll zoom in a tiny bit. Let me make this a little bit bigger as well so we can see the whole question here. But use a logging module in Python. This is might be prompt hinting. The logging module is Python. The logging module in Python is a versatile tool for recording events and messages during program execution. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. It provides a structured way to generate log entries at different levels of severity, allowing you to track the progress of your application, identify potential issues, and debug problems. I don't want to really like look at any severity levels and so forth. I just kind of like want to get this this print, whatever was printed to the console. I just want to be able to see it in another console effectively, so be able to tag onto it. And I'm instructed that in Linux I am able to tag onto it. So I don't know if I'm going to be using, but possibly this info rather than this debug, because it's not really a debug message per se. So, but anyway, we'll have a little play around with this and see what it actually does. So it gives you this, you know, the different talk about it to generate log messages. You can use various logging levels, logging level methods provided by the module. These methods correspond to different levels of severity, such as debug, info, warning, error, and critical rate. Messages with a lower severity will not be logged unless you explicitly configure the logger to do so. So it might be something like this, because this has no severity, and then I can like switch it on and switch it off, which would be quite nice potentially. Let's just go and take all of this code actually, why not? Because it's got a little copy bit here, so I can copy the code and I can tab, and I can then do straight away after that this, but I presume that I would have needed to do, yeah, logger equals logging dot get. Okay. Import logging. Okay. So we do an import of logging. Next, you need to create the logger object, which will be responsible for generating log message. The logger object is typically named after the module or component it represents. So, you know, it's clearly clunkier than the print message, because I've got to do this. And I'm sort of like even wondering that if I had this in a function, so def function, and I'll call it my logging function here. So some sort of logging function here, and then let's just say I will take all of this code, exit out, and paste it in here, and kind of like get the right indentation, and just call it my little logging function. Now, this is in the global namespace. This is in the local namespace because I'm inside of this function. But presumably that should work in the same way because it's just going to get, let's just see, logger dot. It does get all of the methods and attributes. We can see that because when we put the dot in here, we can see all of the methods and attributes. So, okay, fine. It's inherited from the global namespace. So presumably that should be fine. I guess if I was doing it, I wonder if you could create multiple logger instances. So log equals logging.getLogger, but put it in this function and then create another one in another function, and how that would behave, what would be the behavior of that. But anyway, let's just run this function now. So this same hello world will run again. I could, at the moment, it's also in the global namespace. So, but let's just run the logging dot, the logging underscore function. So logging underscore function, and we're just going to run that, and we can see there, like when we hover over it, just like says there's my docstring, my little logging function, and something's going to happen. I don't know what, but let's run it, and we get this. This is a warning message. There we go. Funnily enough, interestingly, the print statements, the hello worlds, and this is I'm going to call this unexpected behavior, and the reason why it's unexpected behavior is that this logging underscore function, so my little logging function, ran on line number 21. It ran after the print statements ran, but yet we see some of these error messages, and we only see 3 of them. So we don't see, we see the critical error one, we see the error message, and we see the warning message. So these ones are seen, and that's what the AI was hinting towards earlier. This one is seen as well, and this one here is seen. So these ones are seen, but these ones are not seen, and presumably we kind of like have to switch them on. But they occurred first, which is a bit of a weird one. I don't know why. Because if I wanted to sort of like do another debug here, now I have to figure out how to switch on this debug because it doesn't actually do it. If I run this in the regular, so if I hit F5 to run it in the terminal, let's just see what happens. Does it behave the same way? And look, 2 different behaviors. Okay, this is beginning to annoy me before I've even started. I get all the hello worlds here first, and then I get the messages in the order that I expected. But when I ran it in this interpreter over the sides here, I got the error messages first. That's an interesting one. So unexpected behavior. Let's just try and do that again and see if it does the same. Yes, it does. So interesting. In particular, I wonder what happens here, which is print, and put the print statements ran. That little beep was Bitcoin trading. The print statements ran, and then just run it again. Now that's quite an interesting one because all of the logging stuff comes first. There we go, our critical error messages. For some reason, they came first. They preceded this, and Python runs sequentially, so I can't even answer why. Let me see if I can get my things up if I've got it there. No, which is the... I wanted to get the pen tools up. Let's just see if I do have them available. Oh, there we go, my G-Link. It's there now. You know, we run in this order in Python. So let me just remove that for a sec. we run in this order. So we start here. So we basically get to line number 7, and we should be, I'm expecting to run the for loop here. Here we go. We're running on line number 7. This thing hasn't even been read yet at this point in time because Python's interpreted, but for some reason, obviously, like this function must have. And therefore, these things should occur first. I've got no idea why, other than this has taken time to sort of like launch. Then funnily enough, like this print statement definitely comes afterwards. Here we go. Our print statement definitely comes afterwards. So it's almost like the logging these messages. So it's kind of like read through all of the code. This is interesting. It's almost like it's read. How did this run? How did, well, all of this actually, this entire function run, or is it because it's taken? So my question is, and somebody might be able to answer this, maybe this has taken, it takes like 10 milliseconds for this one to run, right, to actually get to the console, not to run but to get to the console. So it did run first, this did definitely run second, but these logs here, they just take like 1 millisecond. So they managed to get their way in front. So this takes like 1 millisecond. Whereas the print statement, again, takes another 10 milliseconds. I don't know if that's true. I'm asserting just by virtue of observation that this must be correct, that the logs make it to the screen, at least on the interpreted screen, faster, whereas over here they don't actually come in the right order. So, and if I go over, I'll just clear all of this out. So just do a delete of everything and do an F5 to run it in the terminal. I'm going to get the correct order, but we see it there. The print statement comes afterwards, and then all the logs come after that. So interesting. We can't really trust at this point, for the purpose of sequential orders, which is going to be important, the interactive Python. Okay, so that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 1 is, this might apply to, I'm going to call it the Jupyter Notebook, so Jupyter. May have a different order. Exclamation mark, there we go. For some reason now, okay, I'll even move this line up, and the reason why I will move this line up is because, or I'll separate them here, is because these ones we don't know where they can come about, but I'm imagining that had there been seen, so had I have switched this on in some way, that these would also have arrived at the same point in time as all of the other logs, the warning, the error, and the critical. So let's move on anyway. So that's an interesting one to see. That was our first test. I've never done this before, so those of you that are doing it before, that some people will know the behavior, by all means comment on the behavior. So this is more like a bit of prompt engineering and learning at the to like front end level. This is something that you might do, but I'm just zooming in a bit more so that it's clearer. So let's have a look now. Log messages are generated by the logger. Log messages generated by the logger need to be sent to an output destination, such as a file, a console, or email server. Good, because I want to send it to the console. This is where handlers come into play. A handler is an object that receives the log messages and forwards them to the specified destination. So I guess that we're going to have a handler that probably goes somewhere like this. And I have to now import another module So import the sys module, right? So now I've needed two modules, so the print statement's winning by a long way. But I'm not sure that the print statement can print to the std out, which is potentially different, but let's have a little, how would I recognize its difference? I'm not sure yet even. But possibly that should be fine. I'm imagining that this handler might actually go in the line preceding the logger, because the get logger might need to have a handler or something in there. In fact, let's see, get logger. No, it just has a name that goes in there, and its default value is actually, looks like it's none. So return a logger with a specified name. If no name is specified, return the root logger. Let's just, out of interest, remove this name. So maybe I'll just take the whole thing again, copy that, paste it here, and remove the name. So now we'll just literally, I will just comment it out and F5 it again. I don't even know what's going to happen. Let's have a look. Okay, it's done all of the same behaviors. So possibly the default anyway was the double underscore name, which I imagine is what might be the root logger. We need to go into the logging module in Python, so to have a little further look. But anyway, I'm imagining that some of this gets taken out of the logging module in Python. So configure the logger. Once you have created a handler and a formatter, you will need to associate them with the logger. So let's have a look. Okay, filters, conclusion, getting a bit annoying at the moment. Okay, so yeah, it was getting a little bit annoying because that didn't really tell me what I wanted to know, because I want to use it with the print statement so that every print is a log. That's ultimately what I want to do, which is I want to kind of like, you know, have log behave like that. That's what I want to do. So at the moment I can't do that, because if I did, like, and what I presume I would be doing is this logger, like, so I wanted to behave like the print statement, I'd be doing something like this, I guess, and sort of like have this hello world here. So hello world, you know, maybe I'll have to have it as an F string over there, but hello world, and then the I like that. But I can't see that anyway. So that this, I'm going to say, is looking like that to a degree. So that's kind of like what I'd want to do. So let's just comment this line out as well. That's what we want, but let's see if we can achieve that. So it says to use a logging module with a print statement, you can redirect the output of a print to a logging handler. Well, that's what I want to do, and it looks like it's created a whole bunch of code. This means that every time you use a print statement, the print message will be treated as a log message and sent to a specified handler. So maybe I can take this whole block of code. I could have hit the copy button there, too late, copy, and tab across, and then supersede all of this in the logging function, or maybe I'll just comment all this out for now. So maybe comment all of this out and try again. So let's do that. Now we know that we're creating the logger object, so we don't need to have a comment for that. We've got this the handler object, which was over there, create a stream handler to send the log messages to the console. So that's what we've done. And then create a formatter to customize the log message format. Okay, and that's going to give us a time, the logging level, and it looks like the message is doing it like that, which is a bit, I don't know, not a fan of that in particular, because I want this in an F string. So I'm just going to do this because it's prompt engineering. Put this into F string format. Right. So I want this line here basically to look like an F string. Let's see if it can. It should just put an F in front of this and then presumably just put the ASCII time in there. It looks like it has done. I wonder if that's sufficient. Okay, let's just try it. It says it's equivalent to. I'm a little bit dubious about it, but I'm just more comfortable with that. No, it doesn't look like it's going to do that, because I wonder. I'm not sure this code is even going to work necessarily, but I'll run with it. I'm still going to get rid of the comments. Let's just see what the AI gives us back here. So the AI isn't always correct, by the way, but maybe it does work. So maybe this is what to do. Add a handler to the logger. So that was this bit over here. We see that we had this logger which equals logging.getLogger, and basically we have to add a handler dot over there. So I imagine it could have been this. Copy that, and then I don't know for sure. We'll see in a second. There we go. Yeah, you could do an add handler. The method is available, but often it's a bit like, or at least I don't know, the Pythonic way of doing it will be like this. So we can add a handler there. So I'm going to remove that as well, because this is kind of like, I'm going to consider this all to be one kind of like block, as in this is my like logging block setup to log and get a handler and so forth. Now redirect the output to the logger, import sys. Okay. We've imported sys already, so we didn't, because we did that on line number 3 up here, so we don't need to do that a second time. So now I'm not the most amazingly comforted in pointing the std out to a logger, but that's what we're doing anyway. And the logger is this logging.getLogger name, which has a handler. Now every print statement will be treated the same as a log message, but let's just try and do it. There we go. This is how it works. So we're going to print this as a log message, but I don't know like if we're going to see anything or not. F5, because it might be a low level. And here we go. Logger object has no attribute right, and I don't even know where the error message came from, but you know what I got out of there, you know, and this is kind of like why we watch these videos and learn and whatever. You watch me fail, burn, and crash in real time. You know, this is the error message that I get, which I'm going to go straight back into the AI and tell it, you know, rubbish, nonsense, right? That's what I get, an attribute error. Now, it should recognize that, you know, we were talking about this block of code that it created, hopefully, and say something about it. Does it have anything to say about it? So the attribute error from the logger has no right. Occurs when you try to call the right method on a logger object. The right method is not defined for logger objects, so it is not possible to use the right log messages directly to a file. Okay, I want to log to, and you know this was alluded to somewhere up here, but there was 3 options, I believe. Where was it up here? Was it farther up? No, because that's right at the top. This is a critical error message. Let's go back down. Log extreme handler. No. Hierarchical structure. Okay, it did say it somewhere, but I can't find it. Ah, yeah, to the console. Okay. Right, I just copied that, but let's just have a look at what it's given us. Okay. There we go. It's replaced all of its code. Now, you know, I just got rid of all of the stuff there. Let's hit the stop button over here, and I'm just going to paste this all down below because I actually wonder what the difference is. So like, you know, this is the code, the new code. We've got the logger, logging.get logger. Now we've got a file handler, my log, right? But I don't want to log to a file in particular. So logger.info. But I want to log to the console, and that's the thing. But I want to log to the console and not to a file. Exclamation marks. There we go. You see what it says. Maybe you can't do it, but you should be able to do it because it says you can do it. Okay. It looks like it's reverted back pretty much to the same code. So I'm going to take this piece of code and go back here because there I can remove this logging. Now we've got the login, like we can see that line number 8, like in particular, like have I gone back in a circle here? Line number 8 here, they're exactly identical. So these two lines are identical, so I can tick them off. The handler is logging.stream handler. This time it hasn't got, this bit's missing, so that's the key difference. Okay, there's nothing there. This is the same. The next, so this line is the same. I'll put a tick there. This line is the same. And finally, these two lines are the same. So the only difference is this double underscore name. Oh, no, not the double underscore name. The only difference is this std out, sys.std out. So maybe or maybe not, it will or won't do it with the removal of the std out. So kind of like leaving it as a default thing. We'll have a look. I've got import logging twice here now. I don't have it twice. And also no need for the import sys. Well, that's quite good. Good news, because that removes one import, which is kind of like 2 lines of code at least. There's no sys stuff in there anymore. So this is much more condensed. It's looking a little bit better. And you know, this line here is all formatting anyway, which maybe you did or didn't have to do. Let's just try and run this piece of code. It might still fail. I just hit F9 to put a breakpoint in rather than running. Hit F5, we'll run the code. And what do we get back out of this? Well, nothing. Now, I don't see anything, but the reason why is probably because this is an info. And we know that from, you know, this stuff under here. So if it was like a warning rather than an info, so the same thing over there, but this time a warning. If I hit F5, I'll probably get something. So hopefully it works. There we go. You know, and here's the format of the message. And that's quite nice because that's what I want to get. Now, it's got a little extra piece here, but I imagine that is like the fractions of a second. So I don't know if I don't necessarily want that piece of it, but it's quite nice to have the 133640. I don't know what the 779 is yet, but maybe if we ran multiple ones, let's just try and do it. For I in range, and then just do 5 of these. So delete that, and then we tab that up, remove the space, and then hit F5. Good, okay. It looks like because these run at the same time that we're differentiating, or are we? Because these two occurred literally identical on the millisecond bit. But anyway, we've got like at least a timestamp that's kind of relatively logical. So 13, 37 and 26 seconds, and then this is the milliseconds, and these ones must have occurred in the same like microsecond or millisecond, whatever. But these are our log messages, so that's what comes about from it. So fair enough, that all looks quite good at this point in time. But I want to see how can I see info? Question mark, how can I see info messages? I think it's like info like this basically, because because it's this logger.info messages. I'm going to like prompt in a little bit from the logger.info just so they know what info line statement. It's going to tell me about this level, high level, low level. Hopefully it's going to do that at least, because it should like say. There we go. So we've got to do this extra line of code over here, which is the set level. And I have used this module, but it's ages ago, and I was like, oh god, do all the bits and bobs. But if you are like doing something that's a bit more serious, that kind of like demands it, which I could sort of like have to do at some point in time, you're gonna have, so like if you want to have logging, you're gonna have to use a logging module, right? You're not gonna, the print statements take you so far. So I've got to set the level, and I presume I have to set it, but before it actually gets used. So after we've created it. So now I should see even that. So I've got some warnings here, and I'm going to put I wonder actually, funnily enough, if I can put a comma I over here like this before I even start this piece, as in will that break it? Is that syntax allowable? Because in this warning, it's all like a message, which is just an object, but I've put two objects in, then it might, I don't know, not like that, basically. I wonder what the second argument was. It's almost like, yeah, there we go. It doesn't like it. We know it doesn't like it because it did a lot of stuff over here that probably wasn't quite right. But I mean, what the second argument that went in here, in this warning at least, was, so, I should have known it was going to come up and do that, but basically, def warning, the first argument here is the message object, and then args object, I guess, possibly, or star args. Are these keyword dogs? I don't even know if there might be keyword dogs like stack info and so forth, but it's looking like it was expecting that. So it doesn't look exactly like a print statement. If I did want to have the I in here, I'd have to go back to this F string. That's what I was testing for. So that's what you actually have to do. Okay, I'm testing this empirically. Maybe you should know it, or you could put it out of the docs, which I could kind of like go to the, I guess something like logging logger Python, something like that, and it will take me to the docs over there. There we go. And it'll give us like import logging, warning, watch out. So you've got the docs as well. You shouldn't need to go through the AI, but some people prefer the docs, some people prefer the AI, and a whole bunch of different things. And it's a bit more detailed rather than just asking sometime and doing it by inspection. But there is this piece that I'm just showing that it does exist, and you can actually go through that. But I'm just going to jump back over here because I'm now going to. So I'm able to run this, and I'll hit F5 and we'll see that it does run. So that's all perfectly fine, because now we got this is a log message 0, this is log message 1, 2, 3, 4. Perfect, that's what we wanted. But now we're going to do the set level. So it's going to go right to the top level. And the reason why I wanted to do that, it won't make a difference at the moment, because if I hit F5 again, I think that it's going to, everything below that level will probably be activated, which it is. But in particular now we can do this, which is, and we're going to, this time instead of warning, we're going to do info over here, and this is an info message dash. There we go. Our information messages will look slightly different, a little bit cleaner. And we will run the F5 now. We get the logging that, so we get our infos and we get our warning. Now, if we want to remove the levels, like, we just delete this out. If we want to, well, this is the actual message, so we can't like do want the message. And also that was all doing the logger.warning.info stuff like that, but we wanted to do it like a print statement. So let's just go back to the AI over here, because we wanted, if it's there, to run it as a print statement. Now, yeah, I haven't done that really. I haven't achieved what I wanted to do because we're doing logging basically, and that means that I'd have to go through all of my code, and anywhere where there was a print statement, I'd have to log. I guess the advantage is at some point with a logger, which is a bit more powerful than print, if you wanted to use all of the logging features, and I presume that's why it's a module, that you can do that. Now, yeah, if I did a print statement there, it's just going to act completely differently. But where was it over here? Was I ever able to print and sort of like log, use it as a log? Because that's a logger.log. So it's not there at the moment. Maybe we can ask for it because we wanted to get this. So I can be a little complainer, but I'll be rude. I want every print statement to be treated as a log message. So I don't want to use logging .info. I want to use print in its place. Something like that. I don't know if I prompted too much. Oh, here we go. We go back to the original and it's saying use this sys.std out, and that's not going to work. So we know that this doesn't work because we ran pretty much exactly the same piece of code and it threw us an error message. So we're now going round in circles, and one thing, because it will keep insisting, so there's only two other options to do, which is start a new chat and sort of like redo it, but it's going to go back to the prompts and go like, but this is what does, but this does not work. This code already threw an error message, right? That's what happened already. So like, there we go. Oh, sorry, it'll do. Yeah, you're correct. The Cobra earlier does throw an error message. The error is, yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like recognized it. It's done something else, funnily enough, over here. I'm just going to blindly copy and paste now because I'm sort of bored, but this is coming to the end of it. Let's just do this, but this is kind of like a working version. This is kind of like how you use logging. So I'll say this is sort of like the complete version of it. I was just checking one thing. I'm going to comment all of this out now. So I'm going to delete all the rest of it at the moment, everything else here. And I'm going to put over here, this works, right? That piece of code works, but this piece here may not work, but let's have a look. I mean, again, it's missing something there. You're missing something, which is import. So the sys, like, even if it was going to work, that's what you'd need to do. But I don't see, like, straight off the top of my head why this would be any different. But let's hit the F5 button to run it. I'm sure the error message, nothing has changed. So the AI sometimes does that. Yeah, we get exactly the same stream handler object has no attribute right error message down at the bottom. So I'm not going to go into it any further in terms of attempting to turn a print statement into a log, other than to say I could cheat. This comes to the top of my mind, which is that something like we could do, but this would break the print statement. But we could assign print to be equal to logging dot info, right? So every time we had print, we'd have like logging.info. Maybe we could do something like that. I don't know if we need the brackets, but then we were assigning it. But now every time you use a print statement anywhere, and if you wanted to use it properly in your code, you've now overwritten it. And so it's got double naming in Python, especially of keywords or like user print here. I know what they're called, but key functions like pre-recognized functions or built-in. I think they're called built-ins. I'd literally be renaming the built-in, and that's frowned upon. So I won't be doing that. I won't be doing this because it throws the error message. I will just save this because I might go on and do something with that. So basically, this does work to a degree. It gets logging working. It does these set levels. Now, if I did, and this is a thing on it, it does have this extra advantage where sort of like set level, but so instead of going to info, I'll do logging dot, I guess, and if I went to like critical is one of them, maybe, I think debug was the earliest one, so I'll go to an end one. I'll go to warning, if it's there, dot warning, there we go, because we know that we got a warning down here. And warning is above info, so if I commented out, so now we're no longer going to get the info, so we could have this info in here and this info doing stuff, and maybe this info even printing to the console, but we will only sort of like get our warnings, so the info printing to like a file or something like that, but we would only get our warnings that come out on the console, so we can do certain things like that. So if I run this now, we see that we just get, yeah, there we go, this is just a log message again, and I put this is like not just a log message, but this is a warning message, and this is an info message. So we now got like different levels, so we can do certain things. You can see how this works, and you can see how this might be useful. I'm not really sure what this S does, funnily enough. Like if I remove it, oh, there we go, that's what it does. So everything seems to need to be between the percentage and the S, and because the S is missing, it's like doesn't know it, and then like here's the final S over there. So I'm not a fan of this format. Like, is there another way to replace this line, basically? Is there, although it does work, so you should like take it as given, some people do just copy the code and do it. Is there another way to and then let's put a line in there. There we go, let's have a look. I wonder if it's going to come back out with that broken F string. It does, and that doesn't work. Okay, fine, but that's not really too much of an advantage. That's still like breaking it down here, but basically it's saying do this, there, that's the format string, and then over here, rather than having, but since it's short enough in terms of length, but there was no issue because we never broke our boundary line over here of being too long in terms of code. So now we've actually added one extra line of code. We're okay going up to here. That wasn't too big a message in terms of size. So I'm going to Control Z that out twice, 3 times. So that's removed, and that's fine. So that's basically sort of like a very succinct level of the logging module in Python, and I think I'm going to pretty much leave it like that. If you found this useful, at least this sort of like brief inspection into the logging module in Python is, but there's obviously you can be way more complete on this because you can go into the actual logging and how it works and like look it up and use it like in a really, really powerful way. But in any event, if you found this useful, then hit the thumbs up button, the like button, the follow button, and the subscribe button, and all the other buttons. And even if you don't like it, still hit the thumbs up button, like button, follow button, and subscribe button. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to save this file. If I do some good logging, because I might need to use this, then I will make a new video which will be much more concise than this, which is actually just a live stream. So you're sort of like seeing me investigate this in real terms, like in live. So I'm browsing around, searching for things, doing lots of ums and ahs. That will all be eliminated in a much more shorter and concise video if I feel a need to, or I find that it's useful enough. I might not. I might just find that you know what, I'll just stick with a print statement. And kind of like over the years of doing it, I have sort of like teetered with logging, and I've gone, oh, you know what, the print statement's more than sufficient for the most part of what I need to do. But that's pretty much it. I'll leave it there, and again, do hit the like, follow, and so forth, and share this video too. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.